Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. So, let me ask you something. What makes a sports trade truly shocking? Is it when a legit superstar gets moved? Or maybe when a team gets this massive haul of young players? You know what I think it is? It's when a team trades its captain, who also happens to be their best player, and basically just blows up their whole future in one move. Well, guess what? The NHL just gave us all three in one absolutely unbelievable deal, and we're going to break it all down right now.
Okay, so you really have to let this quote sink in. This isn't just some standard PR talk, no way. This is the team's president talking about the guy they just traded away. You don't say someone is one of the greatest of all time if you're happy to see them go. This is what you say when you've just shipped out the face of your franchise. When you hear praise this high after the deal is done, you know this was a massive, league-shaking move.
All right, so to really get our heads around this thing, here's the plan. We're going to look at why Vancouver did it, why Minnesota pulled the trigger, we'll meet all the players involved, talk about the huge risks for both teams, and then figure out what happens next. Let's get into it. All right, let's set the scene. The date is December 12th, 2025, and out of nowhere, the hockey world just stops. The news breaks, the Vancouver Canucks have traded their captain, their superstar defenseman Quinn Hughes, to the Minnesota Wild. And look, this wasn't just some rumor that had been floating around. This was a real, landscape-changing move that had everybody's jaws on the floor.
And this wasn't some simple, one player for one player swap. Oh no. This was a complex, multi-piece deal. Minnesota sent what you could basically call a treasure chest of top prospects and a super valuable draft pick over to Vancouver. And right away, that tells you everything you need to know. These are two teams with completely different goals, heading in totally opposite directions.
Okay, so let's start with Vancouver. The big question is, why? Why in the world would you trade a 26-year-old superstar defenseman who just won the Norris Trophy and is also your team captain? Well, the simple answer is they felt like they had to. They were completely stuck, and it was time to slam that big red reset button.
And I mean, just look at this contrast. It tells you everything. A year ago, these guys looked like they were on the verge of something special. They took a powerhouse Oilers team to 7 games in the second round of the playoffs. Now, fast forward to this season, and they're sitting dead last in the entire NHL. When you fall that hard, that fast, it forces management to make some really, really tough calls.
Okay, so here's the real kicker, the thing you have to understand. The word on the street was that the Canucks knew. They knew Quinn Hughes wasn't going to sign a new contract with them. So what does that mean? It means they were staring down the barrel of losing a generational superstar for absolutely nothing. Zero. And with all the trade rumors already messing with the locker room vibe, management basically had to make a painful choice. Trade him now, get the biggest possible return you can, and just start over from scratch.
All right, now let's flip the script and look at Minnesota. Their problem was like the total opposite of Vancouver's. They weren't a bad team. Actually, they were a pretty good team, consistently. But they were stuck in that place no team wants to be. The middle. Good enough to make the playoffs every year, but just never good enough to actually win when it counts.
And yeah, this right here says it all, doesn't it? For years, the Wild have been a great regular season team, but that success just vanishes when the playoffs start. We're talking about losing in the first round in their last 8 playoff appearances. 8. That's not a slump, that's a pattern. And a pattern like that tells your front office that you are missing a crucial piece of the puzzle.
And that missing piece? It was a true game-changing superstar. Look, they've got an amazing player in Kirill Kaprizov and another great young talent in Matt Boldy. But the GM, Bill Guerin, he looked at his hand and decided it was time to go all in. He pushed all his chips to the middle of the table to add one of the best defensemen in the entire world to that core group.
Okay, so we know why the trade happened. Now let's get into the who. Let's break down exactly who went where in this massive deal.
So here it is, the whole trade laid out. To Minnesota goes the once certified superstar Quinn Hughes. And coming back to Vancouver is a whole package just loaded with future potential. You got a young center, Marco Rossi, a winger, Liam Ohgren, a defenseman, Zeev Buium, plus a super valuable first-round pick in 2026. This is the classic textbook definition of a star for a boatload of future assets kind of trade.
So first, let's talk about the big fish, Quinn Hughes. The guy is only 26 years old, and he's already won the Norris Trophy for being the best defenseman in the league. He is an offensive dynamo from the blue line. I mean, you put up 92 points a couple of seasons ago. That's just wild. Let me be clear. Players this good in their prime almost never get traded, and that's exactly why the price to get him was so incredibly high.
All right, now for the main prize coming back to Vancouver, Marco Rossi. This guy was a top 10 draft pick a few years back, and he's already proven he can score in the NHL. He hit 60 points last year. He's only 24, he's got a good contract, he's the kind of player you can immediately plug in and say, okay, this is a guy we're building our future around.
And then you've got the other young guys rounding out the deal, 2 more first-round picks. Zeev Buium is a defenseman, only 20, but he's super highly thought of and has already played in the NHL. Then there's Ohgren, who's a little more of a long-term project, but the potential is definitely there. For Vancouver, this is all about stockpiling young talent and betting on their development down the road.
Now, a trade this big is never, ever a sure thing. Let's be real. Both of these teams are taking a massive, massive gamble here. There's a ton of risk for both sides. It is the definition of high risk, high reward.
For Minnesota, the entire risk boils down to one single, terrifying question. They gave up an absolute fortune for Quinn Hughes, but what happens if he doesn't re-sign with them? What if he just leaves?
So here's the massive gamble for the Wild. Hughes is only signed for this season and the next one. After that, he can walk. And for years, there have been these whispers that he wants to go play in New Jersey with his brothers. So imagine the nightmare scenario. They don't win the Stanley Cup, Hughes leaves for nothing in a couple of years, and all those prospects they just traded away, they all turn into stars in Vancouver. I mean, that's not just a bad outcome. That's a franchise-crippling risk.
And for Vancouver, their risk is a lot more straightforward, but it's just as scary. See, they traded a guaranteed superstar for a big box labeled potential. But what if that potential never really pans out? What if Rossi is just a good player, not a great one? What if the other guys don't develop? If that happens, you've just traded a Hall of Fame talent for, well, not much.
So, what's next? Where do these two teams go from here? Well, they basically come to a fork in the road and have officially gone down 2 completely different paths.
Okay, step 1, Minnesota is all in. For them, it is win now mode. The clock is ticking for the next 2 seasons. They've got one of the best big 3 in the entire league, and the goal is simple: win the first Stanley Cup in their team's history. Anything less is a failure. Then you have step 2. Vancouver begins the rebuild. For them, the pressure's kind of off. It's all about the future. They're going to focus on developing Rossi, Buium, and Ohgren, use that 2026 draft pick to get another great young player, and just patiently build a new core that they hope can be a real contender way down the line.
Which brings us to the million-dollar question that everybody is asking right now. Who won this trade? Is it Team Win Now, the team that got the certified superstar to try and win a championship immediately? Or is it Team Build for the Future, the team that got that treasure chest of prospects to build a potential dynasty? What do you think?
Honestly, there is no easy answer here, and we probably won't know who really won for years. But I definitely want to know what you guys think. Let me know in the comments below.
Hey, thanks so much for watching this breakdown. If you enjoyed it and want more explainers that make complicated stuff simple, do me a huge favor. Hit that like button, share this with a friend who loves hockey, and most importantly, subscribe to my channel so you don't miss the next one. We'll see you then.